Smoke and mirrors. In farmers' fields beside the railway, the Kirk County Fair was being prepared. Near the siding to the fairgrounds, Marvelous Marvin, the famous magician, was setting up the most exciting act of the whole event. The engines watched curiously as they trundled by, but Gordon the big engine was always going much too fast to take notice. At Tidmouth Sheds, the fair was all the other engines could talk about. "Did you see all of the stalls?" whistled Thomas. "Yes, indeed," replied Edward. "And the big wheel." "I can't wait for the magic show," peeped Percy. "I hope I get to see it." "What part of the fair are you most excited for, Gordon?" asked Thomas. Gordon sniffed. "None of it. I'm far too busy with more important things to worry about than a county fair." "Well, you're no fun, Gordon," said Thomas crossly. "Express trains aren't meant to be fun. I'm dignified. I wouldn't be caught scrapped at some silly fair or some stupid magic show." Just then, Duck bustled in pulling some coal trucks, coughing loudly. "What's wrong?" asked Percy. "We've got a new delivery of coal, though it's much too dusty for my liking." And Duck was right. The coal was rather dusty. The ashes clumped up in the engine smoke boxes, making grimy smoke spew out of their funnels. The passengers found it most irritating, and so did all the engines. It gave them awful indigestion. Some engines couldn't even puff properly. "Filthy rubbish," coughed James. "Makes me want my special coal back," huffed Henry. Gordon, meanwhile, simply carried on. "I'm the greatest. No coal will slow me down." Soon the day of the magic show arrived. Thomas and Percy were talking all about it at Kirk. Gordon sat outside the station, taking on more coal. "Oh, I do hope I get to see the marvelous Marvin perform a magic trick," whistled Percy excitedly. But Thomas was rather worried. "I hope the soot from our steam doesn't disturb the show as we pass," he said wearily. Gordon just grunted. "Pah! If you were a fast engine like me, all this dusty coal nonsense wouldn't be a problem. Besides, it's just a silly show." "You're the one who's silly, Gordon," Percy snapped. "What's wrong with a little magic?" asked Thomas. "It's a waste of time," Gordon sniffed. "All smoke and mirrors, if you ask me." And with that, he puffed rudely away. Gordon was traveling home without his coaches after his last train, and by now, even his crew were fed up with the dusty coal. "I've never known coal to make this much smoke," exclaimed the fireman. But Gordon was still making speed. "We'd better slow down," said the driver. "We're approaching the old thin tunnel." But they never got the chance. Along the country line, there's a small tunnel with a single track running through it. It was narrow and dark, and all the engines took caution going through it. Gordon had quite the turmoil with the same tunnel before and should have remembered this. As they sped over the junction and into the tunnel, an enormous cloud of thick smoke erupted from Gordon's funnel. The smoke filled the cramped tunnel and Gordon's cab. The driver and fireman began coughing. They couldn't see a thing. And neither could Gordon. "Get me out!" he spluttered. "Get me out!" He raced out of the tunnel back into the open country. But before the signalman could change the points ahead, Gordon thundered frantically by, straight towards a farm goods siding. The magic show at the fair was in full swing. Nobody knew of the big engine approaching. Gordon swerved into the siding. He bashed right through the buffers, across the field, and straight into the show stage. "He made an engine appear," called a boy. Everyone cheered, but Gordon was speechless. Luckily, no one was hurt, and Gordon's crew had stopped coughing in time to jump out before the crash, safely into a haystack. Marvelous Marvin was very annoyed. "I'm supposed to be making rabbits appear, not runaway engines," he complained. "Now how will I be able to do my grand finale?" Gordon's driver and fireman hobbled over, still catching their breath. We're very sorry," they panted. Is there any way we can help? The driver leaned on Gordon's buffer to keep balance. Aha! Marvin exclaimed. I've had a marvelous idea. Later on, Thomas was puffing back to the sheds when he passed by the county fair. His eyes nearly popped out when he saw Gordon at the magic show. Marvelous Marvin was using his footplate as a makeshift stage. Well, bust my boiler, laughed Thomas. It's Gordon the magical engine. What happened to smoke and mirrors? Gordon sighed. He certainly knew what happened to all the smoke. Marvelous Marvin stood to attention. And now for my grand finale. The audience cheered. Percy arrived just in time to see the magician's final trick. Oh my, Gordon, I thought you didn't want to see the magic show, he teased. But here you are, getting backstage access. Gordon just groaned.